What up, guys? Another Adonis review. Today I'm dealing with Spider-Man Miles Morales. Yeah. I thought about doing maybe the whole Spider-Man as a whole, but you can kind of take what I say as a part of the Spider-Man anthology as well, if you want to get the whole remastered collection for the PS5 or whatever upgraded, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, with the addition of the Miles Morales being the PS5 update. So first off, just kind of go into the simplicity of it all. You know, you play as Spider-Man as the game goes, and you kind of just take down these big villains that come up in the Spider-Man world, like Rhino and Electro, Doc Ock, and so forth and so on. You know, which is great, you know, game mentality, just what Batman Arkham did, you know, and that's why that game was so popular. And with the Miles Morales, you get a short, contained, you know, an extra, I don't know, 10 to 20 hours. You know, it's probably like a quarter of what you get for the original one. The original is a great chunk of time. I guess I'll kind of start off with the positives, right? The positives is that the fighting mechanics are fantastic. It truly, you know, Batman, if you think about Batman, his fighting mechanics would just beat the fuck out of them and kind of dodge and break up legs and limbs and shit, but it's very simplistic. Spider-Man's a bit different. It is very Spider-Man based, even so you kind of do the same things, but it's just cool the way they've kind of initiated how you would use Spider-Man and your agility and swiftness into a fight. And you do get a plethora of fucking different moves and attacks and whatnot, you know, where you can sling people, pull things, throw them with your web, you know, attach onto places, you know, in an instant, fly off with a web and land somewhere, and, you know, sneak around and web people up, and they just did a lot to really make it feel dynamic. With that being said, even so there is a lot of different diversity when it comes into fighting, it can, you know, become repetitive, and the repetitiveness, I think, doesn't come straight from the fact that they, you know, didn't try to make a lot of moves, because there is a good amount of variety. I think the repetitive comes down to, which is kind of like a negative of, you know, one of the negatives, which is just the fucking the mission, you know, selection, I guess. You know, there's ways that you can make a game where you only have like one weapon, and you can make every mission seem unique and dynamic, even if you are doing basically the same thing, but you can't tell because the story and the character development and, you know, the way that you talk with people and, you know, the person that you're talking to, the way they handle the situation is so unique that it makes it feel like a completely different story. You could literally do a story where every fucking mission is, you know, you have to kill somebody with a gun and fight them the same way, but if you make that story unique and the character is unique, it feels different because you hate that villain differently than you hate another person, so it feels different. Unfortunately, it doesn't feel like that with fucking Spider-Man. Every fucking area you kind of go into, you know, like 90% of the game is basically an area filled with fucking, you know, generic villain, bad guys, henchmen, people, and you take them down the exact same way you took down every other one for the past fucking 20 hours. So it can become real monotonous and boring after a while, if you know, especially if you're playing like fucking, you know, a bunch of hours straight. It gets real quick, which is the, you know, why it's bad. You can have a bunch of cool kind of unique moves and it'd be cool to fight a Spider-Man. But if you're just doing the same exact shit every fucking mission, it gets kind of boring. Now, they do kind of switch it up. There is every now and then a different mission where you play as like Mary Jane and have to like walk around and sneak past people and shit, but that's not really fun, so it's not really a good switch up. You know, if you kind of see this opening in Miles Morales here where you're chasing the fucking Rhino and shit, this was a perfect example of what they could have done to maybe add more fucking uniqueness to it. More shit like that. And they do that sometimes with the bosses, which is probably the highlight of the game, is the different bosses you fight and the uniqueness of them, like fighting Electro or Rhino and how you take them down and whatnot. Especially, you know, when you talk about the end of the game and the uniqueness there. But all they really did for Miles Morales from the original is fucking add these new types of villains that fucking have a different type of weapon that require a different type of attack to kind of defeat them. So it does get old. But if you can get past the monotonous of it all, you know, not every game can have fantastic, you know, world building fucking side missions like The Witcher. It is a fantastic game. Like I said, the way you fight is fucking unique and cool and fucking has diversity. the upgraded PS5 graphics. If you're playing on a PS5, it's beautiful. So, you know, if you've never played this game and you have the chance to play the whole this Miles Morales and the original with the remastered PS5 version of it, I would do it. It's beautiful, seeing like the icy mist in the air. You know, it's like a great example of like kind of how the PS5 upgrade kind of reflects and whatnot, and it shows that difference in upgrade, even if the graphics aren't like, you know, right at Forbidden West level. So the graphics are there, you know, that's good to say. At least, you know, on a faraway aspect version of it. The moves are there, like I said. It's just that monotonous fighting is basically the biggest killer of it. But fighting the villains and make it kind of a worthwhile game overall. So,
Spiderman.
I mean, I think that's a pretty good recap of it all. Is this game worth it for you? Should you play it? I mean, if you like the Batman games, I think you'll love this. I think this is a game that everyone would probably enjoy. So I guess the best way to put it is like, if you love, you'll love the game, but if you're a person that gets distracted easily, and you know, if something is kind of boring you, if great games can bore you, you know, when there's constantly shit going off, this game can easily bore you with how, you know, much you have to repeat stuff. So maybe it's not for you. But if you can, you know, get past that and you just didn't know if the game looked good. I remember the first time I played this game, it looked kind of cheap, especially the world. The world is kind of what first upset me. I think I just came from a game that had like fantastic world building, but since you spend so much of this game in the fucking sky and whatnot, you know, it's like you're never on the streets. So when you get down to the streets, it doesn't feel fucking as good as obviously a game where you spend the whole game in the streets, you know, because you're spending all of this game in the roof. So things like that could upset you, but you'll learn to love it and appreciate the art style that they've done with it. So, hope that helps. This game is always expensive, which is the only problem too. Usually it's not a very great deal. They don't, you know, they don't provide a free PS5 upgrade either, so if you have it, you can't get the PS5 upgrade, you have to pay for it. So you can get this game for like $20. I mean, if you could get somehow like the remastered, if you haven't played any of it, the remastered, the Miles Morales, for $30, it's a great deal. Or if you can get, you know, let's just say the remastered or the Miles Morales for like $20 alone, separately, but with the DLC, because this game does have a DLC. I'll kind of quickly go into the DLC. The DLC is good. It is kind of a cool little expansion and fun thing, but it is short. They have like 3 different DLCs that kind of go into different characters and whatnot, which is nice. That I was hoping you would add, you know, Blood and Wine, Witcher 3 amount of time to it. You know, we could get an extra like 20 hours to the game. Unfortunately, it's like 2 or 3 hours for each one, so maybe, you know, maybe 9 hours being generous for all 3 DLCs, compared to this game, which is, you know, pretty long. If you do everything, it's probably like 30, 40 hours. It goes by pretty quick. But like I said, if you can get it all wrapped together in a little bow, you know, for like $30, definitely worth it. I think you should buy it. That's my review. Later, guys.